Senior Report thanks Edmund Besch of Bristol Burgess Insurance Agency, 65 East Main Street, Westfield, for his generous grant to provide news to seniors. Funding is provided by a grant from New York State Senator Catherine M. Young, representing Western New York's 57th District with a local office in Olean. Funding for Senior Report is provided in part by a grant from Andrew Goodell, Assemblyman for the 150th District of the New York State Assembly. Senior Report with Reed Powers thanks Westfield's Schultz Chevy for a generous grant to inform seniors of important news. Over 50 years of service to Westfield by Chevrolet, Schultz Chevy across from the school. The physicians of Jamestown Primary Care are happy to sponsor the Senior Report. From the Access Channel 5 television studio in Mayville, it's Senior Report with Reed Powers. Senior Report is broadcast live throughout northern Chautauqua County on Saturday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. each week. Call in and share a thought, make a comment, ask a question, or simply wish someone a happy birthday on Chautauqua County's only live call-in senior program. Since 1995, Reed has been bringing viewers hundreds of interesting guests, informing the community on a variety of subjects. Here's the host of the show, Reed Powers.
And good morning. What a beautiful day we have here in Chautauqua County. -2 when I came over the hill. Down even lower than that earlier. This is the longest, meanest winter I can remember. Everybody's telling me, oh, we've had other winters like this. I'd like to know when, really. I think they should do a double check on the temperatures we've had lately. Oh, my gosh. Oh, well, at least it's clear today. And I hear everybody yelling, do it, do it, do it. From the background. We have microphone changes and exchanges here, and the little rascals, those rotten little animals, get into our lines and mess things up. Okay, at any rate, lots of things happening around us. Can't even watch TV; it so aggravates me. You know, your Congress, which has been so kind as to reduce our payments for the Social Security to about half what they were before. It's 47% according to the pundits, worth of purchasing power from what you used to get 10 years ago. In other words, your shopping basket is now half full. Because they were supposed to give you a COLA, it should be full to cover the inflation they've created. But they created the inflation, and then they don't give you the COLA. They give you a partial COLA. So suddenly, and of course the pensions go along with it. Well, the Fed says there's no inflation. We don't give you any inflation. So at this point, you're really suffering, seniors. Many seniors have been forced into welfare now because they can't afford, they have no money left to even buy food properly with. They're buying the pills and things, which are very expensive in many cases, and seniors are in real trouble. They've taken away a lot of Medicare this year, and a lot of Medicaid. Many seniors are now on Medicaid because they've been forced onto it because they haven't got the income to live anymore. And now, to the final slap in the face after throwing us under the bus on Medicare and Medicaid, it was announced a couple of days ago that the president is now signing a bill which includes a 10% cut in food stamps. Food stamps are the food dependent upon by the weakest, the sickest, the elderly, the people who are little children who have no income from their family. Cut it 10%. They give the banks trillions of dollars. Trillions of dollars go to the bank. And what do the poor get? A 10% cut in their food. In other words, eat 10% less now. Incidentally, I point out that's for the good of America. Give me a break. Somebody ought to go down there and arrest everybody in Washington. 10% cut in your food, friends. And then many seniors are forced onto this because they have not given them a fair COLA. And they're now living in really desperate straits. This is the shame of America, friends. The shame of America. On the other side, better side, the sheriff of Chautauqua County has announced that, well, let me put the cheaters on here so I get this quite right here. You all know Joe Gerasi. He's announced that they have an important information safety profile for you. It's called the Smart 911. And you check in with the county. You can call his office, I'm sure, or go on to www.smart911.com, and you can register for this. And you put in such things as your general data, residence, location of bedrooms, utility information, details about disabilities and medical conditions that might affect somebody living there, such as oxygen, dialysis, and so forth. And this data will automatically come up whenever there's a 911 call to your residence. So it's very important to have that in there, I think. Used to be you had a little sticker you put on the door saying this information is on your refrigerator, and you would always put it on or in the refrigerator in a little pack. It had your doctor's name, it had your the closest family contact, neighbor, and all the medical information that should go with it. Now you can just do it online, and I suggest you do it. Smart 911. Give them all your information, your medical stuff and everything, and where the bedrooms are, so that they know who's there, and it's very important in an emergency. So do that, friends. Smart 911, Chautauqua County. My suggestion. All right, let's do a little bit of senior stuff here. I have some notices from the senior clubs they send me, and it's very important. And I also want to thank the Dunkirk Observer, which carries a wonderful senior section, and it has all this in it. The Great Belt Seniors, very active group, meet in Fredonia at the Mason Hall usually, and they have yoga, and after the yoga they have tango. It takes two to tango, you know. These two Friday classes will not take place on February 14th. Yeah, you know, that's a special day. That's a day for lovers. But they will resume on February 21st at the Great Belt Seniors, yoga and tango. They are looking forward to Kathy Park, who talks about CASA, C-A-S-A. CASA is a non-profit organization that supports children who are in trouble in foster care, who need some special support, and it's a gift of your lifetime to help these kids out. And they're always looking for somebody to help. They have a knitting group over there at the Great Belt Seniors, and they meet the second and fourth Wednesday of each month, and they knit hats and scarves and all kinds of wonderful things, mittens for people in need, and it's just a gift of time and skill. If you're interested in helping out, 672-7771 will get you the info. Marianne Keller. We're going to the casino on Tuesday, April the 15th. Sign up if you want to go, and as usual, they give you, it costs you maybe $18, $25, somewhere in between, and they give you enough chips to cover it and a lunch chip. So you do fine. Call again, 672-5274, if you'd like to go along with them. And there's always room for other seniors on the bus, or any regular people when they run out of seniors. They'll even take children there. But they're not allowed to go in and gamble, of course. And you shouldn't either. Use your chits. When you lose, go. If you win, go. Don't hang around, or you'll lose your shirt and you'll be very cold on the way home. They're going to take some great trips, and you might want to check in with the Lakeshore Great Belt Seniors on these. Going to Niagara-on-the-Lake in July, and they're going to have lunch at the beautiful Prince of Wales restaurant. That's a lovely place, good food too. And you'll be time to shop and walk around, and then you're going to the Inniskillen Winery for a round of wine tasting. Flyers are available in the center Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, anytime. Pick them up in the morning, or you can call, again, 672-5274. 7-4, and they'll give you the flyers on the trips. Next potluck luncheon is on Wednesday, February 19th at 11:30 a.m. You're going to have a board meeting at 10, and then they set up. There'll be games, cards, board games, all kinds of fun things, and newcomers are always welcome with open arms at any senior center, I might add. Westfield seniors, they meet at the YWCA. You used to say you had to say YM or YW, but the YM disappeared. But there's still a YW on Portage Street, just up next from the library. They have a belated potluck Christmas dinner. The weather's been so tragic lately. Shirley Capine does the job over there, opens the door, and I want to say happy birthday to Darla Auger, Sally Merwin, Betty Wilson, Ralph Wakely, Irma Lloyd, and a whole bunch of other people. And Dan and Gladys has celebrated a wedding anniversary. They've been married for 65 years or something. Happy birthday to Betty Morgenstein and Mary Cogliano and Kathy Best. And Fran Anderson, an old favorite of mine, who's been there forever, president, everything, helped out for years, been a great community resource. She's ailing a little bit, so say a prayer for her. Send her a card. They're going to have installation of officers. And Westfield Fire Department donated 10 smoke alarms to them, which they spread around. And God bless the fire department in Westfield. They actually offered to install them for you. They'll come in and put them in the appropriate place and screw them in and everything. And everybody should have a fire alarm, friends. No one's been burned alive that we know of who's had a good working fire alarm next to their ear, because it'll wake the dead and you get out. It's the houses that don't have a fire alarm where people get burned up. So make sure you have at least half a dozen. I've got 7 in my house, and a smoke alarm is terrific, but also don't forget a CO, carbon monoxide alarm. Very important too. You know, carbon monoxide can leak up from your burners, from your furnace, from your water heater. You never know. And it's tasteless, no smell, nothing. You just die. So put a smoke alarm in too while you're at it. Very important. They don't cost that much. They're very cheap. Take a cheap battery, and they could save your life, because you can see and smell the smoke, but you ain't going to see and smell that carbon monoxide. And that gets a lot of people. There was just a family wiped out in the news last week. Brockton, Portland, they meet together. Margaret Jagoda does the job, and Margaret Jagoda tells us that they're going to have a Valentine's Fair for a big touring luncheon coming up, and don't miss it. They have a club history program prepared by Pat Zengi. You know, they've been around since April 28th, 1975. You know how time passes when you're having fun. Everything's done over there. The birthdays, I want to say hello. Ruth Neal, an old classmate of mine. Happy birthday, Pat Zengi. Rosie Ambra, Tom DeJoe gave an update on the county home, and members were encouraged to contact our legislators. They're going to sell it right out from under the seniors, you know. That's the next project. Watch. You got to get on that, friends. Not only they're taking away your food stamps, taking away your rest home. Yeah. For the indigent seniors, this is nice. Silver Creek Seniors President Ed Newman does a job over there. They're going to have Jell-O for Valentine's Day. I'll bet it's red Jell-O. They call it bingo, as they always do. You know, all the seniors have bingo, of course. It's a favorite game. That's a national senior game. Forestville Pioneer Social Club, Ruth Cohn presides occasionally, and they sang happy birthday for a number of happy birthday people, and I'll give you a couple of names here. Rita Boyland, Marjorie Hawk, and Jane Polizotto. And Carol Sheldon from the WCA home in Fredonia spoke about the home. Barb Tyre announced February 23, St. Rosa Lima Church in Forestville will be having a spaghetti dinner. And I'm sure the money will go to a wonderful cause. Next meeting over there will be March 3rd at the Forestville Pioneer. Okay, enough said. They said your time is up. We're going to shut you down. So, all right, I've got one or two more things here. I'll sneak them in later, maybe. In the meantime, I will have a public service announcement for you, and this is just for you. Here you go.
We have a job to do out here today.
To be a winning team, you have to work like a winning team.
My team depends on me.
And my team is 50,000 strong. Looks like a lot of work's going into this.
This is what it feels like to be part of a team.
A winning team.
The action team.
Get in on the action at actionteam.org. Are you in?
And here's a guy who shoots from the hip. Doc. You're on, Doc.
Good morning, everyone, and good morning, Errol, and welcome to the show. Morning, Reed. I see you're in a happy-go-lucky mood as always.
Coffee.
What?
It's coffee.
It's the coffee talking, huh? Whew. All right. Well, you mentioned the Smart 911. I was going to talk about that next week, but since you did bring it up, if you haven't checked it out, it's real easy to get on. I'm on it. I put my household and my wife on there. My dog's on there. And they ask you to put your picture on there. Max has a great-looking picture on there. So if anything were to happen, they're going to look for him. No, Max, he'll love you to death. But
he's part of the family.
He's part of the,
yeah.
If he sleeps in my side of the bed when I come to bed, I figure he's part of my family. I have to shoehorn him out of bed. And then my dad up in Buffalo, I put him on. And, have you gone on yet, Reed? Have you signed on?
I'm about to.
Okay, well, let me just talk real quick about it. The reason why it's nice is if emergency first responders go to the system, you can put in certain medications you're allergic to. For instance, I'm really allergic to penicillin, and if they had to give me penicillin, that would be a problem. It turns out my dad is as well, so that was something you can note. If you have a heart condition, if they ask you where's the shutoff for your gas or your electric or your water, so immediately they can go and say it's on the east side of the basement, and they can find it right away. Time is of the essence in these emergency situations. They ask,
especially if the house is burning.
There you go. So what I'm saying is, it's information that's at their fingertips, and it's free and it's all confidential and so forth. And I know the sheriff's department has been promoting that. So we'll talk more about that as we go along. But it's real easy to use, and if you don't want to put your picture on there, no big deal. But if you need help, ask one of your grandkids. They'll help you upload pictures. Geez, I got all kinds of things to talk about. Let me see if I can pick and choose some things here. Last night, if you didn't hear about it, Bill and I, Doc and Bill, we hosted Infinity Hootenanny again. I think we talked about this over the last couple of years, but it's where a bunch of people get together and instruments, and we had kids of all ages. I think we were down to probably about 10-year-olds and all the way up to, who knows, 80-year-olds. And it's just a lot of fun, and if you're not familiar with the Infinity Group out in Jamestown, they are just doing a fabulous job of working with the youth and introducing them to music and bringing joy to all of our lives. And it was just a great time. And imagine 20 of us all singing and playing together old folk songs or some country songs that they were introducing.
Especially Irish ones.
Irish ones, there you go. Speaking of Irish, if you don't know, yours truly and his partner Bill, we're going to be headlining the Opera House in Fredonia on March 14th. And let me say this slowly. The Clonakara Irish Dance Group, we're going to be there. They're going to dance first, and we're going to play it, then they're going to come out on our intermission, and so forth. And I hear we're going to be doing something with them. I'm not sure, but it's no dancing. I'm putting that right out there right now. I'm not dancing. But that's going to be at 7:30 on March 14th. Tickets are available, so that's coming up. That's going to be a lot of fun. Tomorrow is a big deal. Granny, if you want to hit the poster, we're going to be helping out at a function out in South Dayton to raise some funds for some families out there. So heads up to all you folks out that way. This is going to be a fun activity. Nettie out of the Mustard Seed, she supplies the food. I believe it's a $25 donation, but there's all kinds of cool things that are going on. It's lots of food and beverages and desserts. Yeah, there we are. Good-looking guy there on that guitar. Anyways, this is our third year helping out with that fundraiser, and we're real happy to go back to South Dayton. There I am. I look better with a headshot. Anyways. Oh, thank you. There we go. Anyways, that's a great time. And then, I don't know about you guys, but I'm about ready to throw up the flag and say, I surrender. I want to contact Schumer's office or somebody and just say, hey, go negotiate with Mother Nature. We surrender. Let's see if we can't work out a negotiated deal to end winter. But Not until after the Ice Festival next week, right?
You're right. It's in, they're
All right,
building
so-
it right now.
So the terms and conditions are 1 more week of winter. Forget the groundhog, but 1 more week of winter. Let's get to Ice Festival, and then on whatever it is, the 20th or something like that, bring on the sunshine.
We have some information about this vicious weather, and the Republicans blame it on the Democrats.
Well, of course. Yeah, but they do it the other way around when it's their turn. It's just like a ping pong game, isn't it? Bang, bang, back and forth. So, yeah, somebody was saying if something goes wrong in Russia, they're going to blame it on the president. I go, oh, all right. So who knows? Last thing I want to talk about, and Reed touched on this, is the county home. They had a hearing the other day about this, and they've got a buyer once again. They put in a second offer, and here's my take on it. And I've talked about this for going on 2 years now since we were the first ones really to break the whole thing.
And we've been
on
pointing out it's basically they're selling the seniors right out.
So here's my take on this, and Karen Harvey and I talked about this, and we're pretty much on the same page on certain points. The point is this: if at the end of the day each legislator and county executive can go to bed and sleep soundly with good conscience that they did due diligence, all right, that they have turned every rock over and they have tried everything they can to maintain that nursing home, the county home, and that they have tried all ways to maintain it and keep it under the county responsibility. And then at the end of the day, when they found out from a business government point of view that it just isn't able to be kept because of whatever reason, but they've turned over every rock, they tried everything that was recommended, then I'll say, okay, then let your conscience be your guide. But our concern continues is, the director just left. How's come? The things that were recommended in that government study, Reed, remember? I can never remember.
How to fix the problem.
CGR
yeah.
or whatever it was. I can never remember the initials. But there was different points in there. And so I would say to you, you call your legislator and say, were those things tried? Did they attempt to save the money that they said that could be saved? And if they did, okay, I understand, but let's make sure that they've done what they said they were going to try, and if they didn't, and they sell this, as Reed says, out from under the seniors, shame on them. Back to you, Reed.
Thanks a lot, John Hamill.
Absolutely.
Telling it like it is. Okay, we have a guest here today, Errol Anderson. Now everybody knows Errol. He's the Mr. Hardware of Chautauqua County, and we're going to be talking a little bit about tax and tools and to-dos. He's here to give us a little insight on what you should look for when you're looking for tools, some of the advantages of going to your local hardware store rather than going to a giant operation where you're talking to some kid that had never heard of a sledgehammer, has no idea what you're talking about when you ask for an auger bit. You go to the local hardware store, they know what it is, they can recommend, they can help you out. So Errol's here, and I just thank you, Errol, and nice to say hi to you. It's good to have you with us, and giving up your Saturday morning to talk to us a little bit about hardware. Now, what is hardware? Everybody says hardware. Well, how about software? You know, we in our computer we have hardware. What would you say would be a good definition of a hardware for the hardware store?
Well, most hardwares nowadays have housewares. They have cooking utensils, but basically it's plumbing, electrical, hand tools, and actually in our particular business we actually cut and thread pipe.
Oh yeah.
1/8 inch up to 2 inch.
You're talking about steel pipe?
Steel pipe, black for gas basically, and the galvanized is for water.
And then you also have plastic now too, right?
Yeah, PVC now has come into vogue. That's a big deal. PEX tubing, CPVC, and that's sort of taken over. In fact, the copper market has kind of gone down now because it's so expensive, so most of your maintenance people now are using this PEX tubing.
And you don't have to thread that, right? You just
No,
glue it.
well, you glue it. The CPVC is what you glue. This new PEX now, you literally insert it in fittings. You don't have to tighten it, clamp it, glue it, or do anything.
How does it stay?
Well, there's a little friction ring in there with an O-ring. They're called shark bite fittings. And you can take copper, CPVC, or the PEX. You just shove it in and lock it, and that's it. If you want to take it out, you can pull back on the collet and pull it out anytime you want to. But the latest thing now
What
is
do they call that again?
they're called shark bite fittings.
Uh-huh.
And
And, it's
they-
PBX, you said, or?
They can be used on copper, plastic, polybutylene, any one of them. Usually it's 1/2 and 3/4 inch.
So I can see how that's coming into vogue.
Yeah, and now beyond that, this PEX tubing comes in 10 and 20-foot lengths in big coils, and all the plumbers seem to be using that now. And that also, that goes over a barbed fitting with the crimping tool. You have to have a crimping tool, which could be $50 or $200, depending on the style. And they crimp it on, but it's very fast, and it's about probably 1/5 the cost of copper tubing. And so we're not selling as much copper fittings now. I mean, it's gotten so outrageous when you can buy a length of, a 10-foot length of PEX, let's say, for $3, and the copper 10-foot length could be anywhere from $15 to $22. It's quite a savings. And I think now the code allows them to use the plastic in most of these installations.
So you have a wide variety of stuff there. You said you even sell housewares. What kind of housewares?
Well, housewares, appliance, microwaves, bread pans, cookie sheets, anything like that. And can openers, hair dryers, and shavers. And then we go to the extreme, not only plumbing and electrical, we cut glass, we do rescreening, we actually have Sacrete and cement products.
Mufflers?
We haven't got into that.
It just sounds like you do everything over there.
Yeah, we've got an automotive section, but it's quite it's quite small. We actually have lumber, 1x4s, 1x6, 1x8, the basics. Nothing to build a garage or a home in, but a pick-me-up type thing. So we have some 2x4s. We have plasterboard, green board, pegboard, CDX plywood, roof coating, blacktop sealer, blacktop patch, pretty much anything, It's,
This is a local
Yeah.
town or village hardware
Yep.
store,
Yep.
and you can find all kinds of things in there.
Yeah.
I bought a fire extinguisher from you one time. Everything. I mean, and I used one of them. I bought two. And when I had a chimney fire years ago, and I had to do some work on it. But if you ever have a chimney fire, my friends, you'll know, because you'll hear sort of a rumbling sound in your chimney. And somebody will come running in from the street and say, hey, there's a big flame, a lot of smoke coming out of your chimney. And what you do is, if you want to make sure you stop it immediately, have a big fire extinguisher nearby. Now I'm talking not a big one, but a size, not the little size, and just crack your door in the fireplace, in the wood box, usually it's a wood box,
Right.
and let fire. And it goes up the chimney and smothers everything instantly almost.
correct.
And then call somebody down to check your chimney, because if you have broken the tiles in it, you may have a house fire, and that's the last thing you need.
That's correct. Yeah.
So, how long have you been in the business, Errol?
Well, I've been there probably a good 50 years.
50 years, that's all?
Yeah, well, actually, my dad owned it from 56 to 66.
This is not an infomercial, incidentally. This is just representative of hardware stores in every town, every village in the land, excepting for a few up here.
Yeah.
They've gone out of business because of Walmart,
Well, we've lost Faulkner Hardware, Panama Hardware, Sherman recently Hardware, Forestville, Cherry Creek. In fact, Cherry Creek was taken over by Frost Builders, and now they've gone by the wayside, and it's pretty tough. These small communities are losing left and right. It's not just Chautauqua County, it's all over the country, and it's pretty tough. When you get into these big box stores, people don't realize, Reed, but a big percentage of their products is there on consignment. And they don't
Now, what's
pay.
that mean?
Well, that means the manufacturers and the vendors supply those stores, and they don't have to pay for it until they sell it.
I see.
Now, wouldn't that be nice if the small independent businesses could do that? But they have them in there, and not only that, if they have things like air conditioners, they leave them in the stores. They'll even take them back in the fall. They ship them back. And it's it's tough enough that the hours they keep, that's the tough part of it. The hours they keep and the times that the average stores just can't do that. But most hardwares today have to pay their bills at least every 2 weeks or once a month. or you just don't get it. It's COD. But these larger big box stores, they're sort of dictatorial. They're so big that they can dictate to the manufacturers, and they say, look, we want it sent here at such and such time. Well, a lot of your large supermarkets, they'll go in there with a little rack of potato chips or socks or something, and the fellow comes in and does the inventory. They don't pay for it until it's sold. Whereas in our particular situation, in any small hardwares and other businesses, we pay for that up front. We take the gamble. And that's kind of the unfair part. Pretty hard to compete against that.
So that's one of the reasons that the small hardware store in a little community is disappearing.
Yeah.
We lost ours in Westfield, I know.
Sure.
I remember you used to go in there and you could just sit down and talk about your problem you have with the plumbing or the furnace or whatever, and they know exactly what you're talking about, and they tell you what to do and give you the stuff you needed.
As you well know, you remember Wade Hardware.
That's the one I'm thinking of in particular.
Where Executive 2 is now.
Right on Main Street.
Then you had Howard Supply in the middle. You had Service Store on the end. And I know when the last one went out, somebody called me up from Westfield and said, do you have such and such? Yeah. I said, geez, we're glad you're there. I said, I appreciate that, but I said, let me ask you a question. I did not know the person. And I said, did you support those hardwares when you were there? Or did you go to Fredonia or Erie? And he said, well, I'll have to admit, I probably should have done more. And that's the tough part of it. You know, if people could, I mean, you can't have everything, you know, but you try to have most of the needs, and people would just shop more locally. But it's, don't forget those businesses. It's not just hardware. It's snowmobile businesses, there's restaurants.
Clothing.
They not only pay taxes on their home that they live in, but they're also paying taxes on that particular property, but the business is. And insurance and taxes, it just goes on and on. But
it's all money within your community, though, that stays there.
That's correct. When you go to a particular store that I won't mention, that money, most of it goes back to Arkansas. They don't care. In fact, that particular business even wants to get a charter to set up banking system in New York State. And can you imagine what that would be? And they won't let them do it, but I mean, they're big enough to do that.
They can force the issue.
They can force the issue. And I think what really kind of gets me a little bit, these large stores come in, and we had one in Mayville at one time too. They come in there and they get a 50% usually tax exemption. They don't pay taxes, property taxes, sales taxes for at least 50% of it. And then after they're there for about 10 years and the exemption runs out, then they want to get a tax reassessment. They say, well, I can remember when the Chautauqua Mall was down there. They said, well, we're assessed for, let's say, 30 million. We should only be assessed for 15 million. They go to court, and because they can afford to, with the lawyers, to fight it, you know, the village of Lakewood, the town of Ellicott, the county, they can't fight. They're paying taxpayers' money to fight these people, so they usually give in. So now they reduce their assessment. And who makes up for that? The local taxpayers. Somebody has to make up that difference. So the school taxes will go up. In fact, they had a terrific increase in school taxes at Southwestern when that happened with Chautauqua Mall years ago. And we had the same thing here in Mayville, where the Ames department store was there, and after their exemption, after 10 years, they decided they wanted a reassessment. And if I remember correctly, they got it. They lowered their assessment of the value. If it was valued at, say, $10 million, they reduced it down to $7 million. Whereas in our situation, we added on 1,000 square feet in 1973. We not only didn't even know enough or didn't even think to ask about an exemption, found out later we couldn't anyway. It's got to be from the ground up, and the addition doesn't make any difference. And that's what happens.
So the little guy is basically losing out on taxes, among other things.
That's right.
There's the big guys, Walmarts and Sears and whatever, J.C. Penney or whatever. These big giants can basically coerce the local community into giving them tax exemptions that you cannot do as a little hardware store.
And you remember, you worked for Sears at one time. Sears and Roebuck would get into these manufacturers. Of course, your Walmarts and the other stores now are doing the same thing, but they would get into a manufacturer, for instance, hot water tanks. They'd get into the point where they bought so many from them that they bought more than 50, 60, 70%. And they would say, well, now look we want a particular price for that water tank, or we're not going to buy from you. So now they end up owning the factory. So Sears did this way before these other stores. They were pretty good at that. They ended up owning these companies, and you always had to go back to Sears. Everything was a little bit different, you know. You had for parts. That was the thing there. But Yeah, it's kind of a tough one.
Well, Sears with their Craftsman. Incidentally, Sears is just barely tottering along now.
Yes,
They're
they and Kmart are combined. Yeah, they're having
right.
troubles.
And
Yeah,
they're having a little problem.
Yeah.
But at any rate, Sears had that incredible money-back guarantee on a tool.
Right.
The Craftsman tool, it didn't matter what you did to it or how you abused it, they usually wound up giving your money back anyway. And I've had
Right.
some incredible tools come in that have been bent up by big pipes and so forth, which is totally wrong. And they always give them their money back anyway. Say, okay, here's your deal. And when I lived on Long Island, the fishermen couldn't clam during the winter, but if there was ice out there, they could. So they'd buy a Sears chainsaw, and use it to cut the ice all over the place and destroy that saw, and then take it back to Sears and say, this is no darn good. And Sears would give them a new saw for a while. Then they decided there's going to be a little complication here.
I remember that. I had a salesman that worked for Sears years ago, and they would go out there, like you, they would come in and buy a circle saw, use the saw for building a deck for the weekend, and then bring it back and said it was no good. Sears took care of it. I mean, but it's the abuses of it.
We're talking there, Errol Anderson. Is it Errol or Earl?
Errol.
It's Errol. You like the Errol.
Yeah.
Errol Anderson,
Yeah.
who is a hardware store owner himself, and we can tell him it's in Mayville.
Yeah. My daughter actually owns the store, but I'm there.
You're the
15, 20 hours a week, but at the time, like the last 4 or 5 years, she's taken over. Yeah.
All right. Well, you're the
I was here for
head of the
50
family here, and you're the one that set it up originally.
Yeah.
When did they start?
There's been a hardware there for 85 years.
Oh.
1929. That building used to be at one time a boarding home.
Oh yeah.
And it was I've got an old postcard from a fellow who gave me, and it used to be a Chinese restaurant there at one time, and it was a circular sign that says Chop Suey on it. And up above the hardware was the Grange, the old Grange Hall. They used to do dancing up there and one thing and another. And then 29, it came along, as far as we can recollect, there's been a hardware since 29. My father purchased it from Baker and Colton. And those fellows had a hardware in the institution and in Mayville. And eventually the one in the institution was the Colonnade hardware. They sold that off, and then it became to be Browdy's. And then Browdy moved outside the gate. And then my dad purchased the one left from Mr. Colton in 1956, and he had that for 10 years. And after I got out of the service, I took over in 66. So it's...
Where did you serve?
In Germany.
Oh, yeah?
Army, Germany, yeah.
In the Army?
Yeah. I was drafted, and never thinking that I would be going anywhere. I had my automobile. I went to Fort Dix and had on-the-job training, and went to Fort Lee in Virginia, down near Richmond, in arms school.
Next thing you knew, off to Germany.
Well, I figured 18 months left, and I had my automobile down there. I didn't know how to get that back. I said, you couldn't go home. And 1/3 of us went to Vietnam, 1/3 went to Germany, and 1/3 stayed stateside. But I figured, with 18 months left, I wouldn't be leaving the country.
You wouldn't think so?
No, but there I was.
Oh, we got a caller. You want to take a call?
Sure.
Hi. Good morning, caller. Thank you for waiting.
Good morning, Reed. Good morning, Earl. I just want to thank Earl. I've lived in the Mayville area for like 22 years, and so a lot of times I've needed just small parts or major parts, and
yeah, that's the
just going to
advantage.
Mayville. I mean, you're saving. It's almost like 50 miles round trip. I think 30, 40, 50 to go to Jamestown to get something, and to drive like 5 miles up here to the hardware store, and I tell you, the advice has been good over the years.
Yeah, that's the best part, is the contact, the advice, and also the fact that you can go up and get a number 2 screw, and you say, what? This thing is probably worth a couple pennies. Why am I paying 50 cents for it? And you don't realize the guy's got to have 15 million of them of different sizes on stock at all times.
Yeah, correct. But I mean, I've come from everything from screws to, I'd lived in a mobile home with had roof leak, where in the winter time with the snow, he sold me a snow rake, which I'd never heard of till I went up there, and They'd be climbing up on
You
the
still
roof,
have snow
I think.
rakes?
Yeah.
What's a snow rake?
Well, snow rake or roof rake, it comes in about a 10-foot section, and you can add length. You pull the snow off the roof. If you don't, the heat forms icicles, and then you could have backup. If that snow melts, then it goes up behind the shingle, and then it leaks down your wall. And what you do, you reach up there and pull that snow off the first 2 or 3 feet. And it not only doesn't form the icicles, but you refrain from getting that backup.
That's why I just put a metal roof in.
Yeah, well, it slides right off.
Slides off all the
They
time.
were really nice, you know. I mean, instead of climbing up a ladder trying to get on a slippery roof in the middle of winter, a big old guy like me, and just stand on the ground with the extension and just pull it right off. And
Well,
he
there's
did a good job. Another thing he had was like
The-
big salt cubes. You just throw them up on the roof.
They melt.
I guess what they do is they slide down. They make a channel open, so when you do have problems with water, it just makes a channel for it to get off your roof. Because when it gets in your house, or it can make quite a mess. You never can tell where it's actually leaking.
Yeah.
So, but I've been up there for just about a little of everything, living in Mayville. So just some miles saving, you know, going to a big place. And the prices aren't bad. I mean, it was like paying almost the same as you do at like Home Depot or something.
Well, sure.
So,
Yeah.
well, I'm going to let you go. Great show.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your contact and your information, and I will be very careful to look for a snow rake right now.
Well, actually,
A roof rake.
Especially with a mobile home, they come in real handy. I promise you.
Oh, yeah? Okay, there you go, folks who are listening in. There is such a thing as a snow rake, roof rake, and you can just, it has big extension. You can sit down below and you can rake the snow enough so you relieve the pressure on your roof anyway, right?
I still go up there to this day, and those icicles start forming, and if you pull that snow off, if there's no snow there to melt, you won't have icicles, because the heat melts the snow, and then those icicles literally, in some houses, we had a customer a couple weeks ago, the icicle went right straight through their roof. A hole in the roof. I couldn't
No
believe
kidding.
it. Yeah, it was a 2-story house, and they had a
And
lot
it
of
dropped to
heat.
the roof below.
Had a lot of heat loss, and probably the roof below went right straight through, and so they can do a lot of damage. But if you can get that snow off the edges, then there's no snow to melt. Therefore, you'll have no icicles and no backup.
There you go, friends. There's a trick. And I have another trick. I have a big stick, and I bat them.
Yeah.
I just go down along the roof edge and smack them down.
Yeah,
and,
you can do that.
Talking to Errol Anderson, he's a hardware store owner, and he's giving us a few tips, and that's the latest tip. The snow rake, the roof rake. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Well, tell me, if you were to do it all over, would you start a hardware store, or would you go into food or something?
Well, I guess hardware, because there's no spoilage. But I think that what kept me going all those years was every day is different. Every day there was a different problem or something happened. In fact, the very first day I opened up, May 1st of 1966, the first fellow in wanted a donation to the Westfield Memorial Hospital right off the bat, $50. That was a lot of money then. That was like $500 today.
When was this? What year was this?
1966.
Yeah, so you can...
So I would say
you're
it's
right.
about $500 today, walking in.
A lot of money.
And so it seemed about that first day, everything seemed to go bad. Everything, and I got kind of depressed. I said, "What am I doing here?" I was 24. I said, "What am I doing here? This is not what I anticipated." But then, right towards the end of the day, a little old lady walked in and said, "Errol, I want to congratulate you on your new venture here," and it made the whole day work.
Made you
She
smile.
came in. I thought I did not know her. And I thought that was kind of a nice thought.
You got a phone call. You want to take it?
Sure.
Okay, caller, you're on.
It was probably my little old granny. That's the kind of thing she'd teach me to do.
Well, your granny would teach you to do what?
Go in and tell people they're doing a good job.
Well, isn't that nice?
By the way, when you started your store, I was just a youngster myself, and it's wonderful to see a store that's managed to stay in business this long.
Barely.
Like, if you go to Walmart, you know, you need a particular screw or something, sometimes you can't find it. I have found that if you go to stores like yours, and we have one in Westfield too, and they're much more liable to be able to find what you need, and they're much more personable. You get much better personal service. And I like to congratulate people that own stores that, even though you could go to Walmart or somewhere like that, the service you give is so much better, and plus it helps the hometown grow.
Yeah, I think I've got to apologize. I shortchanged Westfield. Actually, they have two of them right side by side out on
Yes,
on
absolutely.
West 20. What are they called? One of them's a
One's an Ace, I think.
Well, I think it's True Value, and
True
one,
Value.
and one is Pro.
Pearl.
Pro, P-R-O, yeah.
Oh, okay, the new one must be Pro.
Pro, right.
The new one is True Value.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, then
And they're just
the
side
one
by
that
side.
I've always gone to that is locally owned,
Yeah.
they must have changed their name.
I'm sure you remember Waits.
Absolutely. I can tell you right where it is, right on Main Street, down towards the end where the Greystone used to be, but it's long gone.
Yeah, the way.
Waits was up near the drugstore.
Well, the barber
About the
shop.
middle, yeah.
He was right at the corner of the barber shop, yeah. Well, next to Clark's
They
Appliance.
moved, though. They moved
Yeah.
one time.
Well,
Yeah.
now, wait a minute. Who was down at this end, who's in there now?
That was Service.
Family Dollar.
That's service.
That was
right.
Service Hardware, yeah.
And there was
Oh,
Grants,
okay.
too, which had a lot of hard
Grants
work for a
across the
while.
street, yeah.
Yeah, Grant. Well, no, I guess I was thinking of Service, but it was family owned, so I can't remember what family owned it, but I know
Yeah.
we used to call it by the family name.
Yeah, well, the point being, at this,
They were all family
the
owned
little
back
ones
then.
have disappeared. Although Pro's a little one, I
was
think.
gonna say
Well,
there-
actually, the hardware, not to interrupt the gal, but
Yeah.
the hardware out on 20, the new one, actually, that was the Ad Lumber, and that was, of course, the old Farr Lumber. Was
Right.
down by the railroad tracks.
Absolutely.
Farr was there for years, so you had Farr plus 3 hardwares.
Right,
But
that's true.
But of course, in those days, you didn't have them all. You didn't have the James Way. You had Big N, and all those things have come and gone. You know,
And Farr was more or less, having lived in Westfield,
lumber.
for professional. Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
contractors.
Caller,
Right.
hold on. We'll be with you in a minute. As
Okay.
you were saying, madam? You weren't saying anything. Well, thanks for the call.
Who are
And
you talking to? Me again?
I'm talking to you, yeah.
Oh. I wasn't saying anything? Okay. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and thanks for the call. And we will send you, if you send me a stamped self-addressed box, I will send you a box of screws.
Thank you so much. I have a feeling, well, I could make a very bad pun, but I won't do it. It might offend some of
Something to do with me, though, probably. Huh?
it might offend some of your listeners. Have a nice day.
Okay.
Another thing, Reed, too, just if I can throw in a little point here.
Okay. Well, I have a caller waiting.
Oh, go right ahead.
Let's go to the caller.
Oh,
We'll get your point.
By
okay?
all means.
Caller, you're on.
Good morning, Errol. Good morning, Reed.
well, good
This
morning.
is Linda Spalding.
This is Linda Spalding. She lives over in Chautauqua.
Well, she calls quite often.
She has called regularly for
Yeah.
the last 25 years.
She's not taking my time, is she?
No, not at all.
Well, okay, then let her go.
No?
I want to say how much I love your store. It's absolutely fantastic. You have everything. It's the best store around. I wouldn't think of going to Lakewood or Jamestown or Erie or any of those places.
No one would believe she's your sister, of course.
No, who knows nowadays.
But you have everything. You
Yeah.
give advice.
Thanks.
And you have more than the things that you had mentioned before. You have gloves, flashlights, paint,
Right.
and of course,
Traps.
wisdom.
You still have traps, you know. All the old hardware stores had traps.
Well, when we took over, there was probably 150 muskrat traps, number 2, down in the basement. We eventually ended up selling them, but now we have these cage traps, you know, for squirrels and moles. Have a heart. Yeah, all those. There's several sizes
You
of
don't
those.
hurt them. And I set one out for the skunk under my house, and I caught a yellow, a sort of orangish yellow cat. And I caught him repeatedly.
Yeah.
The stupid cat kept getting into it.
Yeah.
I finally took a hose and wet him down thoroughly before I released him, and he stopped coming to the trap.
I really think that people should support their local small businesses in terms of all products and in terms of restaurants. I don't like these food chains that we have around. It's all prepackaged food. It isn't homemade. I think that we should realize what gifts we have here in this area and support the businesses.
Well, hallelujah, and the Lord be praised. That's the only way we can keep our small communities together, really. You got to be able to access these things.
Yeah, I don't want to mention the names of these chains on the air because it would be very nice.
No, we've already mentioned them. We're feckless.
Well, I'm talking about the restaurants too. I mean, especially in Lakewood, there's a lot of them that have been building up, and in Fredonia, and they can't compare. Your small businesses are so much superior to these chains.
Oh, absolutely.
And you know, these chains come in and they bring the prices down real low to attract people. And then when they get their customers, they raise the prices.
And also, it puts the other guy out of business, the little guy. And then they can raise the prices fecklessly without any trouble at all because there's no competition.
Yeah, well, I know. And Errol, your prices are very reasonable. I don't know what I would do without your store.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you very much for a nice comment. You had something to talk about having to do with the county. What was that?
The Senior Employment Program with the Chautauqua County Office for the Aging, and free computer training that we have at the Westfield-Patterson, Jamestown Office for Aging, Dunkirk Free Library. People should call also for other services with the Office for Aging. The number is 753-4471.
There you go. I often have the director over there, Marianne Spanos, on. She's my favorite Greek guest, incidentally, and she has a lot to say about the wonderful products and the wonderful advice, the wonderful skills, and things that have come to people through the Office for the Aging.
Yeah, there's a variety of services that are geared to the needs and interests of our senior population.
Right now, the taxes. They're helping with taxes. You can call them up, and if you're really unable to get around, they'll come down and do your taxes at your house, help you out.
That's right. That's done through, a lot of it is done through the RSVP program. That's the Retired Senior Citizens Volunteer Program.
Right. RSVP is a wonderful, you know, there are 1,000 RSVP volunteers in our county. Did you know that?
Oh, they do so many different things. They help with medical transportation. It's just unbelievable, the things that they do.
Everything. I helped out for a while. I was a chef. I cooked in one of the restaurants, free restaurants, community kitchens, as they referred to. And lots of people doing it. Well, thank you very much for your input. Are there fishermen out there?
I haven't seen too many this morning. It's pretty cold out there.
Oh, boy, it was below zero when I came up the hill.
Oh, it's been below zero on my porch for a long time.
Well, you know, those wonderful little hooches they have out there, they're just great. And we were talking about them last week, and they always have a little heater in them, and they have they also have fishing equipment, and they have a radio and a little music, and they always have a lovely young lady in there. And my guest last week said, you forgot one thing. They have something to ward off the cold in liquid form, some of them. And they actually catch fish once in a while.
Well, have a great week. Stay warm and get a look at the ice castle. It's absolutely breathtaking.
Oh, it's already up, huh?
It looks like it's pretty close to being finished.
Oh, great. That's terrific. Well, thanks a lot for the call. Linda Spalding doing the job.
Yeah.
Thanks again.
Can you buy lumber at your local hardware stores? You said you carry some lumber, right?
Yeah, we do. We don't carry a lot. I mean, we may have, you know, a dozen or so pieces of 1x4, 1x6, 1x8, 2x4, 2x8, 2x10s. And of course the plywood.
You do carry plywood.
3/8, half-inch, 3/4 plywood, plasterboard, you know, the drywall, green board, styrofoam. So you can commit in all kinds of the wood trim, you know. It saves you going, you know, 10 or 15 or 20 miles. It's just kind of a convenience thing.
Sure, when you need a small piece.
Yeah. If you want a small...
If you're building a barn, forget it, right?
Yeah, you know, a guy will come in sometimes, he'll buy a half a dozen 2x4s, maybe he'll buy 20 to 25. We probably keep 40, 50 2x4s, but it's a convenience thing. They can come in the back entrance in there, and a lot of the guys run short or somebody's got a project. It's kind of a handy thing because we don't have a lumber yard in town. We used to have one. And it's kind of a handy thing.
We used to have two. We had Wan's house and Fire. Believe it or not.
Yeah, over there, right.
Nellie Wan's house had one too.
Yeah.
One of the other thoughts on this subject. Can you order and wait if you need? You see, order like lumber. You say you want lumber, or say I need
We
500 4x4.
Yes, we have a couple of customers in the institution, and they order things that we don't even stock, and we can have it there the next day or in 2 days.
So
whatever we need.
You're an open-ended hardware store.
Right.
You can order anything in the world there if you want to. You probably order.
Well, basically, what we do, we order from another lumber yard locally. We actually pay the normal retail price, and we add a little bit on for convenience, and we get all said and done. We've probably not made a dime, but it's a convenience thing.
Yeah.
But they're very good. They bring it up. They bring it up on their truck, so we can piecemeal. If we want 10 or 15 bags of saccharine, they'll bring that up to us. And then we stock it there, and it's basically convenience. Because I remember the day when we used to buy saccharine by the truckload. We had to unload. I used to unload 4 ton of it. Now it got to be 6 and 8 tons, so you just can't do it. Saccharine, bag for bag.
What is saccharine?
Well, it's that mixture of cement and sand bags that you mix with water, and you throw it in a hole and put up post in that.
Oh, you don't need to put in all the different things. It's all
right.
one
It's saccharine or
thing.
quickcrete. You know, it's a ready mixed cement. You know, the old days you used to use Portland cement and sand, and you'd mix it
And
shovel.
sometimes gravel and.
That's right. This
water
this is all pre-packaged types. Yeah. and
Nothing
it's,
to it. I just add water.
Just
and
add water
stir.
and stir. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
We're chatting as the day is closing down here with Errol Anderson. He's a hardware store owner for over half a century, and that hardware store has been there for almost a century. It's incredible, and most towns are losing their hardware stores, sadly, because of the invasion of the large outfits.
Another thing too, Reed, if I may interrupt you.
Yeah.
Second generation businesses, only about 30% make it. And third generation, which is my daughter, about 10 or 13%.
Why
so
is that?
They can't cope, or they can't make it. It's just something. It's to turn these businesses over. A lot of them just don't make it, or the kids are not interested in putting in 75 or 80 hours a week, and this is what you do. And so, second generation, which I'm the second generation, the failure rate is about 70%. And actually, the third generation is almost unheard of to continue on, you know.
Yeah.
But that's true, I think, not only with hardware, but it's probably true with a lot of businesses.
Diners, anything, I'm sure.
Well, sure,
whatever
yeah.
it is, you know.
Yeah.
Well, Earl, as time is closing down here, I just got this message came flying through.
Yeah.
We're out of here. They're throwing us off the air. And I did want to give you just a moment or two to close off, so just take a half a minute and uninterrupted, all yours.
Well, I would like to say, you know, just like Mrs. Spalding said there, try to buy locally if you can. It doesn't matter whether it's if you're in Mayville, Westfield, Ripley, wherever you are, Sherman, no matter whether it's a restaurant or whatever, you know, try to participate and buy locally. There are people that buy and spend their goods there, and they reciprocate with other businesses, and it's just something that people should do more of. I realize that you may not have the variety that some businesses have, but they're always going to be there, you know, for you. And it's I think the Westfield department store gal that ran the women's clothing store there for years, I think she set it up. It's just the mallization of the young people. Well, now I think it's the big box stores. A lot of the younger generation just they don't know what these small stores are. Never had involved with them, you know.
Let's hope they find out.
Yeah.
Thank you, Errol.
Yeah.
It's wonderful having you here.
Yeah.
And I hope your store is there for the next 100 years, okay?
We hope.
Let's hope so. And, God bless your daughter who's running it.
Yeah.
I want to thank the guy who inaugurated Channel 5, Access 5 here, and who put his life and blood into it, and who is also the village clerk for a million years in Mayville, New York. Chuck Kelsey, brilliant man. Devin Taylor, Chris Bird, Randy Bird, Chris Ramaker, Jeff Zook, and occasionally Don Zenz, and last but not least, Doc John Hamels. May all that is proud and true and noble abide with you, and have a wonderful Valentine's Day. I'm Reed Powers.